Hello, glad you can join us. Here's what's happening this Tuesday. U.S. tariffs may be here to stay in some form.
We will continue to focus on what we can most control.
The Prime Minister signals a change in approach.
It wasn't taken as seriously as it should have been. I think they felt that it would peter out.
The strain of the measles outbreak on Alberta healthcare.
It poses a serious concern for reliability.
Plus, Canada's power grid under pressure from climate change.
CTV National News with Sandy Ronaldo.
Some tariffs are inevitable. Now, that's not what Canadians expected or wanted to hear from the Prime Minister, but what Mark Carney said today as he walked into a virtual emergency meeting with his inner circle to discuss the U.S. tariff threat. Canadians are looking at the possibility of 35% tariffs on all imports starting August the 1st. CTV's Rachel Aiello in Ottawa now, and what's behind the modified messaging? Rachel.
Sandy, it was a telling comment, putting Canadians on notice that it could be quite some time before tariff-free trade with the U.S. is back on the table.
I expect that the discussions will intensify between now and the end of the month.
Staring down an August 1st deadline, today the Prime Minister convened a rare summer cabinet meeting to discuss U.S. President Donald Trump's latest 35% tariff threat. With the goalpost moved again, Carney lowered expectations that Canada can get a deal that would result in Trump dropping all tariffs, noting that so far no country has managed to secure a tariff-free trade agreement with the U.S.
It certainly comes off as a bit of a wake-up call.
It's an admission this lawyer, who used to litigate for Canada against the United States, says sends a clear signal to businesses.
If a baseline tariff does look like it's going to stick, then all of a sudden you can't operate in that environment forever, and you have to make real lasting decisions with respect to your customers and your suppliers.
Trump today sounded more optimistic about how talks are going.
We're negotiating with Canada right now, and we'll see how that all works out. I think it's going to work out very well.
This comes as data suggests Canadians are split on their confidence in Carney delivering a deal. New polling shows 63% of Canadians surveyed said they want the Prime Minister to push back and take a harder line in negotiations, while 37% prefer a softer approach.
Domestic confidence is going to be important. Carney needs to feel like he has a mandate from the people of Canada.
Carney campaigned on a promise to take on Trump with his elbows up. But since winning the election, even as the president has ratcheted up the trade war, Canada has not levied any new retaliatory tariffs on the U.S. Sandy?
Right. Okay. CTV's Rachel Aiello. Well, the cost of Donald Trump's tariffs is starting to show up in the price of goods that Americans buy as inflation shot up south of the border last month to 2.7%. Now, Canada also recorded an inflation increase to 1.9%. Not as high as the U.S., but still enough to make it uncomfortable for Canadians. CTV's Abigail Beeman now on where prices are creeping up with the threat of tariffs hanging over us. Abigail.
Sandy, one of the places where customers are feeling the pinch, furniture prices. Those are up 3.3% in June compared to just 0.1% in May.
I bought it late and the price was very high.
The cost of living is definitely not equivalent to what like an entry-level job or even like a decent paying job.
Overall, new numbers from Statistics Canada show the Consumer Price Index rose 1.9% year over year in June, and that's up from 1.7% in May. But important to note, when you take energy out of the equation, the number is much higher, 2.7%, and that's in part because of the removal of the carbon tax. Gas prices continue to be lower, though June's decline was smaller than in May. And of course, many people are focused on the cost of food. The good news for your grocery bill is food prices are increasing at a slower pace, largely driven by a decline in vegetable prices, specifically helped by cheaper onions and cucumbers. And car prices are up 4.1%. Used cars jumped 1.7%, and that's the first year-over-year increase in 18 months. Statistics Canada doesn't have much to say about the impact of U.S. tariffs. with some economists believing it may be too early to feel the impact.
If anything, that should be depressing prices because it's restricting our exports, that's weakening our markets, but I don't think that's having a big impact. We didn't levy counter tariffs on many things, and we've already pulled back on a number of them.
Now, these numbers are the last look the Bank of Canada has at price data before the next interest rate decision. That's coming July 30th. The key interest rate currently sits at 2.75%. Sandy?
All right, Abigail, thank you. Well, this country's healthcare system is also feeling the pain, with some hospitals and medical professionals stretched to the limit. Now take Alberta, dealing with a measles outbreak that's gone beyond the number recorded in the entire U.S. It's overwhelmed some hospitals that have been forced to triage patients in the parking lot. CTV's Kathy Lee now on how the situation in Alberta became so dire. Kathy.
Sandy, medical and infectious disease experts CTV News spoke to say the province is where it's at because not enough people are vaccinated against measles and not enough was done at the early stages of the outbreak. Alberta does have a measles awareness campaign and did expand access to immunizations in highly impacted zones, but health experts say it's too late and we're playing catch up.
It wasn't taken as seriously as it should have been. I think they felt that it would peter out, that it was isolated certain communities, it would go away. It hasn't.
Now, Alberta has more confirmed cases of measles than all of the United States. This is putting a strain on the healthcare system. Some hospitals, like the Grey Nuns in Edmonton, are triaging patients in ambulances so they don't bring measles into the ER.
We have seen, dozens, unfortunately, of people requiring hospitalization, including more than a dozen pediatric kids requiring intensive care unit care. Measles is a serious infection. It is something that strains the healthcare system, and we really need to be working and considering all options to bring this back under control.
95% of the population needs to have full protection against the virus to achieve herd immunity. While immunization rates have increased in some parts of the province, there are others that are only at 50%. The Alberta government says the measles transmission rate has been slowing down, but there were 30 new cases diagnosed just last weekend. Sandy.
Kathy, thank you for this. More fires are burning across the country. The latest near Newfoundland's Chance Harbour has forced people to flee. You can see the flames burning close to picturesque cabins, having grown to more than 12 square kilometers in size. It's unclear how many structures were destroyed. The fire is moving northeast, which should take it away from other communities in the area. Weather is helping in the fight against wildfires in Manitoba's worst season in 30 years. But as the flames rage, the province is working hard to make sure there are places to house some 6,000 residents who've had to flee. CTV's Alex Karpa is in Winnipeg, where so many are finding refuge. Hi, Alex.
Sandy, I'm near the terminal where chartered flights carrying hundreds of people bring them here from northern Manitoba to Winnipeg as wildfires continue to grow. Several communities are under threat in northern Manitoba as wildfires rage on, forcing thousands out of their homes. Garden Hill First Nation, with over 3,000 people, started evacuating residents last week by military and commercial aircraft.
Our luggages.
Michael McDougall evacuated with his family from Garden Hill over the weekend and is now staying at one of Winnipeg's several evacuation centers. He says it's been a stressful last few days for his family.
It does suck to be here, but this is what we're given, and we gotta make the best of it, So yeah, it sucks staying here, but I know there's a lot of communities that are in trouble the same as us.
Other communities near Garden Hill, like Wasagamak First Nation and St. Teresa Point, are nervously watching as fires continue to inch closer. The chief of Wasagamak, Walter Harper, says evacuations for the most vulnerable in the community are ongoing.
Right now, we're just boarding the plane. As you can see, there's people on plane right now.
20 firefighters from Mexico have joined the firefight near Thompson, which is the largest city in northern Manitoba. They are among the some 250 international firefighters here in the province. Sandy?
All right, CTV's Alex Karpa. Wildfire smoke is still stretching across large parts of the country, and in some places, people are also dealing with stifling heat and humidity. Environment Canada is raising concerns about smoke, haze, and heat in parts of every province. although Saskatchewan is being hit with some particularly bad air quality today. Heading east, the concern turns to high temperatures, with heat warnings issued for parts of Ontario, Quebec, and the Atlantic provinces. And after Toronto had some of the world's worst air quality yesterday, a new special statement was issued today, not for smoke, but for pollution, along with a heat warning that will see daytime highs in the 30s lasting until Thursday. Well, the stifling heat this summer and over the past few years is putting enormous stress on the country's power grid. And now there are warnings that in the next 5 to 10 years, half of North America's population, now we're talking about 300 million people, could be at risk of blackouts. To walk us through what's at stake, we'd like to introduce you to the latest recipient of the Satchadina CTV News Fellowship, Raksar Ali.
Extreme weather events have left thousands of Canadians without power, sometimes for weeks. And climate change could make it worse.
The grid that we have today has not been designed for accommodating such extreme scenarios.
Between 2013 and 2023, Canada's 10 most significant weather events that impacted power grids caused about 20 million electricity interruptions to customers.
More shortfalls can occur during these extreme weather events, and it poses a serious concern for reliability.
A recent report from the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, or NERC, found that most provinces were found to be increasingly vulnerable during extreme weather, putting them at risk of shortfalls. Nova Scotia, one of the most vulnerable.
We've had Hurricane Dorian, Hurricane Fiona, which is the biggest storm we've ever had in Nova Scotia. We had Hurricane Lee, we've had wildfires, floods, pretty much everything, and all of those have weakened the power system.
Utilities like this in the province are taking some future-proofing steps by swapping out older poles with stronger ones.
The lightning hits, and all of a sudden there is a short circuit.
At the University of Toronto's Grid Modernization Centre, Ali Hushiar and his team are running real-time simulations using super-powered computers to find solutions. One solution is smart technology. That includes sensors and software to communicate information along the grid, to make supply decisions faster and to minimize disruptions when the grid's under pressure. Climate change isn't the only factor putting pressure on the grid. So is increased demand, with more people using everything from electric vehicles to heat pumps.
We're going to need more wind, more solar, more hydro, more nuclear to be able to meet the challenges of the future.
And the artificial intelligence boom is another potential challenge. Massive amounts of electricity needed to run thousands of servers.
10 years ago, if we were told that 10 years later, one of your biggest challenges is going to be AI data centers, people would think that this is just science fiction.
The major challenge is meeting Canada's energy needs before demand outpaces progress. But with more frequent extreme weather events and more strain on the grid, that task is becoming more urgent. Sandy?
Okay, Raksar, thank you so much for this and welcome. All right, less than a week after devastating flooding in Texas, torrential rain and flash floods swept across the U.S. Northeast. This is New York City as floodwaters rushed through subway stations, stranding passengers inside trains. More than 5 centimeters of rain fell on Central Park in the span of an hour. In New Jersey, where the governor has declared a state of emergency, a car was swept away by floodwaters with 2 people inside. And dramatic video of the moment a massive wildfire created a vortex in Utah. That spinning column of air is carrying hot smoke, flames, and debris from the Deer Creek wildfire. Firefighters say no one was injured in the unusual phenomenon. Coming up after the break, the fate of hundreds of flightless birds.
We're a recovered flock.
It can and will infect humans.
Now it's in the hands of a federal court in Ottawa. A BC ostrich farm has been fighting to stave off an order to cull its remaining herd after dozens of birds were infected by avian flu last winter. Today, the fate of 400 of the world's largest birds was debated in a federal court of appeal. CTV's Judy Trin is at the courthouse. And Judy, tell us where things stand.
Sandy, the lawyer representing the farm owners, is arguing in court that it was unreasonable for the Canadian Food Inspection Agency to order the mass killing of ostriches after getting just 2 positive tests from dead birds. The fight to save these ostriches has moved from remote BC to a federal courtroom. The ostrich farm owners are appealing an order by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency for a mass cull after positive tests for avian flu. The owners say the remaining herd has recovered.
We have almost 400 ostriches that are 182 days healthy today and loving life.
The court heard that the CFIA made their decision in just 41 minutes after getting 2 positive tests for H5N1 in December. 69 birds did die in the avian flu outbreak. Not all were tested. The owners lost their previous court challenge in May, but their case has gained support from Donald Trump's administration. Former American TV host Mehmet Oz offered to provide the ostriches sanctuary at his Florida ranch, while Secretary of Health Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wrote a letter asking Canadian authorities to spare the birds in the name of science.
We're a recovered flock. We offer so much more opportunity to Canada than we do live, than we do slaughtered.
The owners say the ostriches are also being used in COVID research to develop antibodies. But the Food Inspection Agency denied them a research exemption because they did not provide documentation of the studies. Supporters of the farm say this is an example of government overreach.
The health department needs to look after other issues, not kill off someone's livelihood.
But virologists say avian flu can remain in the herds without symptoms, and a mass culling is the most effective way of preventing spread of the disease.
Stop the virus roll of the dice, and we do that by stopping the virus whenever we can. Don't give it an opportunity to pass through animals. Don't give humans an opportunity to come into contact.
It's unlikely that the Federal Court of Appeal will render a decision today, but the farm owners say they are willing to take their fight all the way up to the Supreme Court. Sandy.
CTV's Judy Trin. Still ahead, farewell to a music legend. How Quebec is remembering a cultural icon. Say the name Serge Fiori and Quebecers will wax eloquent about the former lead vocalist and guitarist for the rock band Harmonium. Fiori went on to pursue a solo career as a singer-songwriter, and he is so beloved in the province, it was only natural that when the 73-year-old passed away, Quebec would hold a national funeral. CTV's Quebec bureau chief Geneviève Beauchemin is outside Montreal's Place des Arts, where the funeral took place today. And Jen, tell us how people are remembering him today.
Well, Sandy, it was really a deeply moving, emotional ceremony that really reflected the fact that Serge Fiori's music is really etched into the fabric of Quebec's history. It is really deeply embedded within the hearts of Quebecers. There were artists, there were fans, of course, fans, many fans, thousands of fans came to the ceremony. There were politicians as well, all talking about the fact that this man had made such an impression. His music was center stage, so was his guitar today. They reflected on the fact that Harmonium came into the hearts of Quebecers in the 1970s with the lyrics that really deeply touched people here in this province, but also reached across provinces. There were shows that were held by Harmonium across Canada. It really also is a band that gained popularity in the United States. They gained recognition at a time when so very few Quebecers had done that, even though the lyrics were all in French. I can let you hear from a few of the fans who were going to the ceremony today talking about the legacy of Serge Fiori.
Well, Harmonium to me is my youth. It's this, the music that filled the airwave. It still fills the airwave. It unites Francophone, Anglophone. It's a music loved by everybody.
Everything that he drives with his heart, like it resembles everybody, and the fun that we're gonna have together to celebrate his memory, something exceptional.
En tout cas, j'espère qu'il est content en haut, puis je l'aime.
That last person is José Lévesque. She's actually Fiori's sister-in-law. She talked about the fact that really his music is eternal. It will be remembered by so many Quebecers for generations, and so many people here share their same thought. Sandy.
Thanks for sharing all of this with us, Genevieve Beauchemin. After the break, get ready to watch more hit shows on television. The Emmy nominations are in, and Canadians are packing a punch. Police have released a 911 call and issued an arrest warrant for an unnamed suspect after the potentially priceless theft of unreleased music by megastar Beyonce.
It's someone broke into my car. They have my computers, and it's really, really important information in there. Like, I work with someone who's like of a high status, and I really need the my computer and everything.
And that's the voice of Christopher Grant, Beyonce's choreographer, after discovering someone broke into his rental car and stole not just unissued new music by Beyonce, but tour plans and set lists. All right, some good news now. The nominations for the Emmys were released today, and Canadians will have a starring role when the awards for excellence in television are handed out later this year.
Who are all these people? I don't recognize any of them.
They're influencers. Most of them don't even go inside. They just make their red carpet TikToks and leave. Catherine O'Hara and Seth Rogen are both nominated for their roles in The Studio. Rogen was also one of the show's creators, which secured 23 nominations, the most for a comedy.
You like a sentimental moment, especially if the liquor is good.
Rogen will be up against Hamilton-born Martin Short, who got his 4th nomination for Only Murders in the Building, while Vancouver comedian Nathan Fielder received writing and directing nominations for his HBO show, The Rehearsal.
It's hard for...
All right, now
so
the
we're
show...
not in trouble? I don't think so. Milchick said we're famous. All of us equally, or one of us is like the star?
Okay, the show with the most nominations is Severance with 27, including Best Drama.
You promised me, Oswald.
I know.
I deserve a better life.
HBO's The Penguin came in second with 24 nominations, and tied for third with 23 nominations is The White Lotus. The 77th Primetime Emmy Awards will be held in Los Angeles on September the 4th. And that is it for us this Tuesday. Thanks for sharing your time with us. I'm Sandy Ronaldo. Your local CTV News is coming up. We'll see you tomorrow, we hope.